We're back again for another podcast. We want to talk about it. What's been going on these last couple of weeks, guys?
Well, you know, life, the usual stuff. I have a son. He's now about to turn 32 in April, and he's autistic. I remember when his mother was carrying him, and we were expecting him. I was so excited, because I know I was having a boy, and I always wanted a boy. Men's ego. They want a boy. They want to replicate themselves, I guess. But he was born around the time when Nelson Mandela was released, and this is the reason why his name is Nelson. And his mom did not have any issues when she was carrying him. There was no prenatal issues, none of that. She carried him full term. Yeah, he came out screaming at the top of his lungs. And she held him in her arms, and the screaming stopped. And then the doctor handed him to me. I looked down at his cute little face, and this little pale kid. I was looking at him, the happiest guy in the world. And his milestone developments were all on point. And he started talking early. I remember when he was about a year old. I reprimanded him about his behavior, and he looked at me and he said, "Daddy, you stupid, Daddy. Daddy, you're stupid." I was like, "What?" This was coming from a child that was a little over a year old, speaking in short sentences. And I remembered when he was about two and a half. He was not talking anymore. The little speech that he had gained in the 2 years that he's been on this earth just went away. He was no longer making eye contact. You would speak to him, and he would look at you for a few seconds, then all of a sudden he would just turn. It's like you'll be talking to him. It's like you're talking to the side of his head. He would not turn and look at you. He'd not make eye contact, and he would be flapping his hands sometimes. And when you would take him for a walk, down the street, you'd be holding his hands, and all of a sudden he would yank out of your hands, and he would dart across the street. You have to run after him, because cars would come. He'd just run out in front of a car, and he would not utilize toys like how they were meant to. He would always want to line toys up. If he sees a group of pens, if you give him a bunch of pens, he just put them in a line. He just look at them. Then sometimes he just go and switch them around. But his ability to socialize didn't exist. I mean, when he was young, he was a loving child. Don't get me wrong. He would come, you'd hug him, he'd lean on you, but there was no. He did not connect with you. You know what I'm saying? That connection was not there. And then his mother and I, we decided, something's going on here. So we took him to a doctor. And his pediatrician said, maybe you should take him somewhere so that he can be analyzed by doctors to see what's going on with him. So we took him, had the routine of having his intellect, having the doctor checking his intellect and looking at his speech, his behaviors and everything. So after they did all this testing and whatnot, that word autism, at the time, autism was not something that was common. It was not common like it is today. And I never heard the word autism, believe it or not, at that time. I'm going back about 1994. I didn't know what autism was. And that was my first time. I think I've heard it, but I didn't know what it was because I didn't know anyone who was autistic. I didn't, but I think when I heard it, I said, that's a funny word, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know, but I had no idea what it was. And when I found out, what it was, I was like, whoa. I was like devastated. And then I started reading up on that, I started doing my own research to find out like, what is diagnosed, like what it comes with, like what's the probability of him having a productive life, like what his life is going to be like when he becomes an adult. And I started looking at all the, started reading up about what the probability of him having a normal life, what that looked like, and it didn't look good. So I know I had to do more for him. I know that I had to give him therapy. I know that I had to take him to speech therapy, occupational therapy, and stuff like that. So I know I couldn't afford to do that. It blessed me in one instance where it motivated me to become self-employed, to have my own business. Because when I looked at what it would cost for the speech therapist and all the other therapy that he would need, I was like, man, I could not afford this on a 9-to-5. So I became self-employed. And, I did all I can to help him with the speech therapy and everything. And the speech therapy helped his speech. And the behavioral therapist helped him with his behaviors and whatnot. And this was not cheap. Let me tell you, it cost me tens of thousands of dollars a year. the schools, they had their programs that they, that he had access to, while he was in school, but that wasn't enough. And I knew that I needed to give him more. You know what I'm saying? So I was taking him to all this therapy, and it helped. It brought him to a certain point, right? But still, I wanted him to go further. But now he's an adult. He's, like I said, he's about to be 32. 2nd of April, in about a week or so, he's going to be 32. And I just want my son to have the best life that he can possibly have. Like, he deserves whatever, what all of us have. He deserves to be happy. He deserves to have a family if he chooses to. He deserves to work. He deserves the best life that he can possibly have. And I'm not going to stop. And he's a good kid. He's very handsome. I remember the other day I was at a pharmacy, and these 2 young girls, they came up to me. They go, "Is that your son?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Can he walk with us?" I said, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." 2 girls were trying to pick up my son. But yeah.
It's incredible how we come from different backgrounds, but the stories are all the same. It's incredible, because when I hear you talk, I hear me talk, and I hear him talk. It's unfortunately amazing, right? Just like you said, even for myself, when I heard the word autism, I said, okay, so what we gotta do? Because I thought that there was a magic pill, you can give him this or you can give him that, take him somewhere, but they have no real answers, And just like you, we went through occupational therapy, and we went to speech therapy, and then whatever therapy was out there that could give him just a glimpse of hope. And even the fact that the age is a key factor, like you said, that two and a half, right? Same thing as my son, and I'm sure that
the same.
It's a completely the same situation.
It's exactly the same.
Same situation.
Even when my boys were born, they're fraternal twins. They would say mommy, daddy. They say little words and stuff like that. But 2 and a half, the blank stares, no complete talking, done. And I can remember going to the doctors and just trying to find out what's going on. The lady doctor, still remember her face, comes into the room. I promise you, not even 5 minutes, looking at my boys. They're autistic. So I'm naive at the point, because I don't know what autism is. So I'm saying, okay, can you give them a shot? Is there any medication that you could give them to? She said, no, they're gonna be like this for the rest of their life. I said, it's like, I didn't hear what she was saying. I said, excuse me, what did you say again? I said, for the rest of it. So you mean it? She says, you're gonna be taking care of your kids for the rest of your life.
And that's a scary thought.
No, I was angry. Yeah. To be honest with you, because like you said, because I have 2 older children and never, was introduced to autism or anything like that. I didn't even know, what that was, and I'm like, take care of them for the rest of my life. So you mean to tell me, like you said, as men, sports, you want your kids to play sports, basketball, football, whatever the case may be, but you want them to enjoy their life, and you want to be there to support them. So to have that taken away just really, truly made me angry. And I'm just reminiscing now, just thinking back. So my bigger twin, his name is Justin. And like I said, they're 14 years old. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. So he loves football. He loves watching football. And he goes, Daddy, I want to hit. So I know what he means, because he wants to be out there on the field. He wants to be playing. And as a parent, for you not to be able to give that to your kid is heartbreaking. Because you want them to enjoy their life. You want them to have a better life than you had. So that's just the toughest thing for me with autism.
Yeah, it's not easy. Even I have two other. He has 2 other siblings, and trying to explain to my other siblings that Robbie was different. It was the hardest thing for us to convey to them, because they saw the way he was when he was born, and then for him not to be able to go outside and play because the teacher would come and try to do occupational therapy with him, or we can't go here because Robbie now gets frustrated, and everything is so connected on a family level that it takes a lot out of everybody, not just parents, even siblings and uncles.
It affects the whole family. I mean, even it gets to a point where some family members don't even understand it.
No.
I mean, because even my mother, she's like, she can't deal with it. So it's like a disconnect.
Yes, the disconnect. Yes.
And she does, she's older, so it's like it's tougher because being that she doesn't understand it, she kind of keeps away, staying away. It hurts because she was there for my older two kids. So it's like I gotta be, that much more, to my kids because
Absolutely.
she's not, putting in the time. So it hurts. It definitely hurts. And I tell her, I understand. I can't say I really understand, but I mean, I accept, because she's my mother. But at the same time, it still doesn't make it right. Like I tell her all the time.
And see, for me, like when we're in family functions, right? So, and just to observe everybody, and then to see that he's like a ghost. That is the worst feeling that a parent can ever have.
So you mean in public? What about in public?
No, in
Going out?
public. See, in public, for example, I always have. I'm always there for him. In public, I'm always there for him. So if he needs something, you're the first one to grab.
100%.
If you need, if he wants to go somewhere, you're the first person that has to. But when you're in a family setting, right? So as much love as a family can give you, and like Daryl said, it's the understanding of the symptoms of this disease or whatever you want to call it that it's hard to grasp.
Yes.
Because a lot of people do behavioral, right?
Right.
So, they're behaving bad.
Right.
They're behaving bad. You should stop them. You shouldn't be doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And like you said, like you said earlier, they have no empathy. They have no empathy. And these are your family members, so you would think that because they're your family members, they'll try to be understanding. But no, I mean, I guess all they see is this individual who is behaving a certain way that you cannot explain why his behavior is this way. And they don't really understand, and they're not even trying to understand because family members, sometimes you'd expect them to have a certain empathy, you'd expect them to be helpful in a certain way. But dealing with my son and his autism, we did not get that help like I thought we would have gotten. That, we'd go to family events and they would just be cold. They would treat him like
Outside.
an outsider.
Yeah,
He's
like a
ostracized.
ghost, yeah.
There's no empathy. There's no interaction. They would greet him, come up to him and say, "Hi, Nelson, how are you doing?" That takes about 5 seconds or what have you, and then that's it. That's all the interaction
But
that you're going to see for that whole entire family outing or family get together.
Yeah,
Just that one little.
you know what I think it is though. Just like we were scared of that word, right? When they told you at first, right? Even family members really don't know how to deal with it. So, for example, like if Robbie would grab something or would break something, they would never reprimand him because they were afraid of their action. It's almost like they didn't know how to react, not only to Robbie but to me.
Oh wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so like if your son would be here, right, and he would grab my hair, I would know why.
Right.
Because I know what's triggering him and what this autism actually
Right.
becomes, right?
Right.
And I've been in certain situation where, my son too is 6'3", big, so he'll go forward in a room of people. He'll go forward to somebody, and you're scared. And that's an actual, you can't blame people when somebody comes at you because they don't look like they're disabled. I'm sure your son looks beautiful,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
It looks normal.
He looks normal, like all of us here.
Right.
But and I think the family members, it's almost like if I say something, will I offend Daryl, right? Or if I say something to him, do I know what to say? So I think that's the biggest problem, and I'm glad that we're having these talks because these talks hopefully reach people in a way where it'll reach them inside and say, okay, this is what these people are feeling,
Yes, and this is what they're dealing with.
Well, and also you have a lot of families that listen, wife or husband, boyfriend or girlfriend, some of them can't take it.
No,
They just leave because of the child who's autistic.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part of it because at the end of the day, it's still your child, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't do that. I mean, to my children, I couldn't do that.
No.
I didn't even think about family, how rough it is with family. I didn't even cross my mind. How would you go through your family members just like this? They ignore. They don't want to.
It's tough.
So
It's
what
tough.
about the general public when you're going out? Like, is it worse?
Well, the public, now with all social media and the fact that the schools have pushed more on it, that's why
Absolutely.
so they were trying to assimilate these kids with this type of disability with the typical kids. But my belief is that it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. It helps the kid the atypical kid to understand more, which is beautiful because they'll have the empathy later on when they're adults.
Right.
It's like with everything else, you know, whatever you're scared of, you're afraid, you don't want to know about. But if you're in contact with, the more you're in contact with, the more you start to understand it and you embrace it, you know. But as far as help, as far as like you were saying, that you had to go out of the box, and I had to go out of the box, he had to go out of the box, to get more help for these kids. I think that's the biggest elephant in the room, because school districts have enough money to do more, but unfortunately, it is what it is with politics. It's unfortunate.
And you were asking about when you're out in public. With my son, when he would go into the restroom, he couldn't go on. You know, like even now, he can't. I could not send him to the restroom on his own. I'd have to accompany him, because with this disability, there is certain behavior that they're not conscious of. Like for instance, like when he goes into a urinal stall, I have to stand like not too. You know, I have to stand pretty close to him. Like and I have to tell him, you know, like Nelson. You know, I have to instruct him. You know how to, you know, to put his private parts away before he turns around. You know what I'm saying? Because this doesn't occur to them. Like they're not ashamed. They don't have, like they're not ashamed to expose themselves. And being in a public bathroom, and if there are other younger kids in the bathroom, you know, the parent is in there with the bathroom. They're gonna say, "Oh, this man has exposed himself to my child." So that's what will go through their minds. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of issues that goes with autism and raising or caring for an autistic, now young autistic adult. You know, that's really can be taxing. And you always have to be thinking ahead of him. Like if he goes to the bathroom, if he wants to go to the bathroom, if I said walking towards the bathroom, I'd have to hurry up and walk in the bathroom with him to restrain him, or not to restrain him, but to guide him to exercise proper bathroom etiquette, if there's such a word. You know what I'm saying? And go to the supermarket, he would want to, you know, buy the 10 of things of what he really likes. He'll just keep putting, you know, like what do he like? He likes fruits. We go into the produce aisle. He likes blueberries. He wants to get like 10 containers of blueberries because that's what he likes.
Blueberries are good.
Yeah, all right. He knows what's best for him, though.
And I have to tell him, I said, no, listen, we're only going to get 2 containers now, and we'll come back. You know, when these are done, we're going to come back and buy more. You know, and what I didn't mention is that Nelson has 2 younger siblings who really, really loves him. And these, you know, usually, you know, I've heard horror stories of siblings not being compassionate or not having empathy for their disabled sibling, but I don't have that. I'm fortunate that Nelson's younger brother and his younger sister, they understand he has a disability, and they're kind to him. They're very kind to him. You know, the other day we had a little thing in the house where Miles, that's Nelson's younger brother, accidentally hit him in the face. Nelson came, you know, Miles was having his dinner. Nelson kept putting all his weight on Miles, putting his arms around Miles, bearing all of his weight on Miles. And Miles kept saying, "Nelson, stop, get away, you know, asking him to stop." And after about 10 minutes, Miles said, "Nelson, stop!" And he threw his hand back like that, and his fist accidentally caught him on the side of his eye. His eye swelled up. Miles stayed in his bedroom for the entire weekend. He was in his bedroom crying the entire weekend. He couldn't even look me in the eyes. He was so ashamed of doing that, you know. So now he's trying to make up for it. The other day, Nelson was taking a shower. Nelson was in the shower for too long, and he came, "Okay, Nelson, time to get out of the shower now." You know, he's making up. He's been extra kind to Nelson ever since that accident. But I'm very, very fortunate to have 2 younger children who are very, very empathetic to their older sibling. I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yeah, my kids, they you know, they take care of him. They always they've always been there for him because they know of his condition. You know, taking for rides to. Sometimes I remember when he was I would say 10, 11 years old. We couldn't go in a fast food place because he would grab people's food. So with them, it was like you said. You know, you escort them to and they would do the same thing, and they would like line up and just go to the counter
Like
and
funnel him.
in files, so that he wouldn't grab nobody's food. So it does affect everyone in the family.
Yeah, my oldest 2 kids are the same. They're really good as far as, you know, if I need them to watch them or, you know, get them something, or I'm grateful in that aspect. I don't have no, thank the Lord, I have no issues in that department. I want to ask you though, Derek, as far as with your son, because I have to still do this for my boys. As far as when they go to the bathroom, do you have to actually wipe them, or does he wipe himself?
No, he wipes himself. My son, Nelson, he is very, very, when it comes to his personal hygiene, he's over the top. Like his physical appearance, like his clothing, his grooming, he is very on point with that. Like he'll come to me and say, "Dad, let's go to the barber." You know, he'll come to me like this, you know, time for a shave. I'm gonna go to the barber, look at his hair. Time for a haircut, you know. So his grooming, clipping his nails, keeping his skin lotion, he's I mean, everything about his clothing, everything about him has to be on point. I'm very happy about that because it could be the other way.
Yeah.
So I thank God for that.
Wow.
We noticed that he was not talking. Like the speech that he had developed up until he was 2, all of a sudden just went away. And his maintaining eye contact, again, didn't exist. Like if you call his name, he would turn and face you for like a few seconds, and then he would turn away, and it was like you're talking to the side of his face. Or he put his head down. He would stem. You know, they have this behavior where it's a repeated behavioral pattern. You know, where he'll be walking back and forth, or he'll just get a lot of objects and just line them up and just like stare at them. You know, so he had these typical stemming behavior. At the time, I didn't know what was stemming. You know, before he was diagnosed with autism, I didn't know anything about stemming, but I knew that was off, and his mom knew that was off also. Before the autistic symptoms presented themselves, he was developing in a typical way. I mean, he was my first, so you know I don't have much to compare with. But what I would see in other children, I saw in him. You know, he was talking. You know, he had words. He was saying words, and also whatever little toys we bought him, he was playing with these toys. He started walking early. By the time he was 9 months old, he was holding on to objects, standing up, and he was stepping off on his own around the age of 9 months. So by the time his first birthday, he was fully walking on his own, not holding on to anything. And he was running back and forth across the room. And when you speak to him, he was maintaining eye contact. And I'd be on the floor, rolling around on the floor, playing with him. You know, that was, you know, things that dad would do with their sons. And he'd be on my back. He'd be riding on my back. He'd be playing with his mother. His mother would feed him and take him for a walk. We'd take him to the park, and she would put him in the swing and, you know, swing him and do typical things that you do with a young child. And we didn't notice until, again, around the age of 2 is when we noticed like everything that he had gained in his milestone development started declining. It was like he was regressing in just about everything. His behavior, his ability to function. He didn't have that ability to speak anymore. That just went away. He was just saying 1 or 2 words. You know, he was not speaking in short sentences like he was doing. And we just noticed the difference. You know, he was not the same anymore, and that was really troubling. And I mean, but at the time, man, he started presenting the signs of autism. We didn't know autism either. We just thought that maybe there was something going on with his behavior. We just didn't know. We knew nothing about autism, and until he was diagnosed, and we started learning more and more what a life of autism looked like. And, you know, it became scary. Once, you know, and I remember his mother, she was devastated. I mean, I was devastated too, but I saw her devastation, and it like hurt me to see her hurt, you know, so badly, because this was, you know, this was her only child, and to see a mother go through this, and it really took an effect on us. You know, it took an effect on our marriage, on our lives. It was tough. It was very hard, but his mother's very loving. She's very supportive. She's very kind to him. And I have to say, like, having her as a mother, taking care of him the way she does, that's a blessing, because she's very strong. And even when she's at the end of her rope and you know, she's overwhelmed, she pushed through, and she's able to give him the life that she, you know, best can give him. So I'm grateful that she is in the fight with me, doing all that she can, you know, for him. I'm grateful for that.
So you're bringing me back, because I can remember when my boys, I think they were like a year and change, and especially when I say my big one, Justice, the bigger twin. So it's like this bouncy thing. So he would get into everything. So I would put a 50-pound weight on the bottom of it, so he couldn't get up. So no matter what, he gets up anyway. I'm talking about pulling the 50-pound weight. He wanted to get to anything that he wanted to get to. Like, that 50 pounds wasn't stopping him from getting up. Because he was just always just strong. He was just a strong kid. Because I used to call him Little Bam Bam. Like, he was just strong. I mean, he was a strong kid. I'm talking about picking up a weight, picking up 20 pounds before he was 2 years old. Like he was just that strong, unbelievable strength. So it's funny because like all this is just bringing me back. And but when my boys was like you said, 2 years old, about two, they used to say the words "mommy," "daddy," used to speak in small sentences. I was always rolling around with them, you know, playing with them, throwing them up, you know, doing the daddy stuff, and then nothing. It's just heart wrenching.
Yeah, you know, they said that the eyes are the window to the soul, right? And then they just went blank. It's like the soul was taken out of them. It's not even the fact of you know, the disease or whatever it, or they couldn't talk anymore, or they couldn't laugh anymore. It was just the fact that they almost disappeared in your hands.
Yes.
You know, and you feel so helpless because you have no idea what to do next.
Yeah, it's like they withdraw within themselves.
Yeah, they withdraw themselves.
You know, it's like they're in there. You know, it's like they're hiding in there, and you like, you know, when he first became diagnosed with this disability, you sometimes look at him and wonder if one day he would emerge again, like he would come out of that, go out of his shell, you know. And man, I prayed, because you know, you hope, you know, you always like hope that this is going to turn around somehow, you know, and living through it and not seeing it turn around like you think that it might turn around. It's, you know, it's a difficult thing. It's really,
It's not easy.
yeah.
No, it's not. I can remember too. Also, I was giving Justin a bath, and you know, as a parent, you always wonder, like, you know, do your kids appreciate what you do for them, even though they're autistic? You know, you want to, do they appreciate what you do for them? And I remember him coming out the bath, me drying him off, and him just giving me a hug. And I'm like, that for me meant everything.
Well, there's one thing about autistic children or young, you know, or people with autism in general. They're very loving, kind people. They're very emotional to a degree. But one thing, they're very affectionate. They're not lacking affection. They're very, very affectionate. And, you know, that's a sweet side to them, is that they're very loving, you know, and despite this disability, they're very loving and very caring.
And I want to connect to something that you said, right? So when you said the milestones, I had two kids before him, and he outdid them way before.
Wow.
So he walked by, like you said, 9, 10 months, 11 months, his birthday, he was walking.
Exactly.
He was, and I mean, erect. You know, he was just running and grabbing.
Exactly.
So you know, and that's what really hurt.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, there was no signs.
Exactly.
You know, unfortunately for a lot of people, and sometimes I say that I'm blessed because there's so many diseases in this world that take babies away, they die, and it's. But for him, it's like, okay, so if somebody's born with a disability that you can actually see, then you can work with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
okay, but with him or with these two kids, it's just like you look at him and you go, wow, my God, even now, right?
Right.
So like we said before we were talking, you look at them and you go, oh my God, they're gorgeous.
Right.
I went to Coney Island last year with him, and girls were trying to walk beside him until he starts stimming.
Okay.
You know, because he's got this thing that he goes, what is it?
Yeah.
And that goes back to when he was a baby. I used to sing him a lullaby, and he would grab my chain and he would laugh, you know, and he was like 3-4 months old. He would smile, he would fall asleep. He did everything that my other two kids did exactly to the point.
Wow.
Exactly to the point.
Okay.
Until he reached this crazy mile, you know, this crazy 2.5 years, 2.5 years. It's like, and I speak to a lot of parents, and it's almost like, you know,
That's the magic number.
that's
It's like the
that's like
magic number.
like a trigger that pushes them over the cliff, even if they I don't know if they had something or something pushes them over, but they just go blank.
See, when you was talking about the stimming, like Justin does a lot of that stimming still now with the hands, but Jordan no.
He doesn't do it.
No. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, and they're fraternal twins, but it's like, that's the opposite that they have. And Derek, when you were saying they are loving kids, but the problem I have is that they're naive too. That's why I'm the type of parent where it's like I stay close. Because
Oh, yeah.
you don't want nobody to take advantage of your child or do anything wrong to them or say anything wrong. Or so it's like, it's tough, but they definitely loving kids.
And you gotta be protective of them at all times.
Exactly.
They don't know danger. They don't know when people are being vicious towards them. You know, people can be very
Nasty.
and unkind. You know, so yeah, we're their protector, we're their guardian, so we have to do all we can, to protect them and make sure that they're not being harmed or taken advantage of, or
It's a tough situation.
yeah.
And it's always been a tough situation. Nowadays, thank God that there is a little glimpse of hope.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. It's almost like you want to reach it, and it starts to move away from you. But now it's more likely, to come to you, because before, your son was born in
92.
92, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you never heard about it.
No.
Me neither. I mean, my son was born. My oldest is born in 1991. I've never heard of autism. Now,
It's all over the place.
that's all. That's all people talk. Autism.
Autism awareness, you hear about
Autism
it.
awareness. Yes. But I think they can do better. They can do more, and they will.
Yeah.
And they will.
Absolutely.
Can you speak to how autism affects you as men? Because I want you to look at this. Forget about the camera. Look at this also as a therapy session for you guys, because I saw you get teary-eyed and you hold back. But that's the release that men need to have, that you don't have the safe space to get. So even if men get to watch this on TV, they can really relate. And we're not doing this for YouTube. We're really doing this for the benefit of your children, but for the benefit of you too. Because possibly before this time, you didn't have an outlet to talk about this.
No, and not only that.
You didn't have the freedom to talk about
And
this.
not only that, just the fact that you can relate to each other.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to piggyback on, like any situation, when you get in it, you kind of forget the good days.
Yeah.
And when you started talking, Daryl, about some of the things you remember from when they were younger, that's going to speak to other people.
Get your face lit up.
Because when you get caught up in something, you almost block out that there were good days. It's like a marriage, you get a bad marriage, you forget that there was a point where that marriage was good. So I think if y'all can kind of like incorporate that, that's going to speak to other men and women's heart.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause them to identify, because they haven't been back there either.
That's why I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
before.
What
Before
you're
the
saying.
sad part. Tell us about the days that really brightened your heart, made your heart smile. Because when you started to talk about that, you started to choke up, because now you compared it to what I have now. But thankfully things are changing and turning around. But we want to hear about before.
And when you had a 50-pound weight, I'm sure you thought you had a football
Yeah,
player.
it's like-
Oh, absolutely.
A linebacker.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
see what I'm
Right.
saying?
So when
those are the kind of things.
And when you tell these stories, when you tell these stories, me as a viewer, I'm able to visualize it because you're doing storytelling.
Why do you think he's so strong? Since he was 1 year old,
Yeah,
you
he's
put 50
over
pound
50
weight.
pounds.
Yeah, right. Train them.
So you thought you had a football player, and then your hopes were dashed when the autism appeared. Not many people that's going to identify with. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's because it hit me when you said it.
Absolutely.
So you put a weight, a 50-pound weight, so your son wouldn't move. Why? Because he was so active. He was into everything.
Yes. He definitely. Justin was more active than Jordan. I mean, and like I said, he's the bigger twin. So Justin was born first. He was 7 pounds and change, and then Jordan was 5 pounds and change. But Justin, with the 50-pound weight, I didn't think he was going to move it. To be honest with you, I mean, a year and a half. I mean, I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way this kid is going to. And he gets up, and his little legs start turning, and he starts dragging this 50-pound weight. So for me, yes, I mean, that was, the mindset. Oh, this guy can play football. He can play basketball. Or, those are your dreams as a parent, especially as a father. I played sports, so it's like you want that for your kids. I didn't care about NBA or just play, collegiate sports. But with the word, finding out autism, that took everything away. And I'm sure, a lot of parents can relate to that.
What are some other fun things you did with your son? The things that made your heart glad with both your sons?
It's just spending time with them. Just staring at your kids, just looking at them, just, watching. It could be even just watching TV.
How did the two of them interact? So remember, don't answer just from you have to say a full sentence. So tell us about how Justin and Jordan interacted with one another, being that they were twins.
Justin and Jordan, as far as interaction, they were at early stages. They, they would interact with each other. They would play. But, once you find out with autism, it's like they went their separate ways. They would, one would be upstairs, the other one would be in the room. It's like they never connected again.
Nelson, I thought I had a little race car drive on my hands, because we go to these theme parks where they have these little racers, and he'd always want to get in one of those cars. And he was too small to drive them by himself. So I would sit in the car, and I'd put him right in my lap, and I'd have him all on the steering wheel. And we'd be racing around the track, and he'd be loving it, And of course, this was before, autism before he started showing his son's autism. But he loved those race cars, those little go-karts. Oh my goodness, those were his favorite. He would sit in that thing and those things, and he'd be in another world. He'd be so happy, zipping around the little track, and the swings. He loved going to the parks and getting those swings, and he could stay in those swings forever. And he loved kicking balls also. Like, you know, I'd kick the ball to him, he would kick the ball back to me, and then I got him a little hoop, and he'd try throwing the ball in the hoop. So I was seeing some athletic abilities in him that, you know, I started fantasizing about. When he might grow up to be, you know, I said, hey, race car driver? You know, but yeah. But now, he loves bowling. Oh my goodness. Bowling? We call him strike zone.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he is really good. And then after he bowls, he comes, he looks at the score. And you know, like now, they have these what do you call it? These screens at the bowling alley that gives you tips. Like if you don't want to strike, they'll give you tips like where to place the ball to knock the others. He comes and he'll look and he'll look at the tips and he'll try to follow it. You know, he'll go back and he does good. Man, some nights he ravages, man. Some nights he just, I mean, he'll do like 150, 160, and I'll barely do 100. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So bowling is his thing right now. He loves bowling.
That's
Yeah.
fun. That's good.
And you know, so his siblings and I, we take him bowling, and some nights we beat him, but half the times, man, he royal beating. He's very competitive, but when he's bowling, he's super competitive, and he loves it. Very competitive. Yeah.
That's nice. That's such a beautiful thing. For me, like, you know, it was soccer.
Oh, wow.
You know, because for me, soccer was.
Of course.
So let him play, and he would kick the ball. He had no problems. Even his motor skills were in perfect harmony. He wasn't falling. He was running straight. He was kicking the ball. Either you would throw the ball or you catch the ball. So everything that he did was just beautiful. It was nice. It was what you expect from a 1-year-old.
Right.
There was no indication of anything else going wrong. But I mean, just the fact, you know, today looking back, you know, I wouldn't change him for the world.
Yeah.
That for me, if somebody would come and go, listen, I can snap my finger and get him out of your life, and I'll replace him with somebody that looks exactly like him, I would say no, because I wouldn't change nothing about him, nothing at all. Yes, we got to go through a lot of up and downs and struggles and no sleeping, not finding things where you put them, because that was one of the things they used to do. Keys, shoes. Like I would go to work, and before I have to, even now he does it. I have to get up and look for my shoes somewhere, my car keys somewhere else, my jacket somewhere else, because he doesn't want me to go. And this was something that he did when he was little. I mean, you know, thank God that at that moment I used to work by my house, so I would walk. Sometimes I didn't need the car, but that's one thing that he would do. You know, he would hide everything.
So you're saying that you would not change anything about him if you?
Yeah.
No, you know what? I wouldn't want him. I would want him if I could change places with him.
Yeah.
I would change places with him right now.
Okay.
You know, if God would be, or whoever, right, come here and go, listen, so you're not going to talk, he's going to talk, what are we going to do? Okay, do it. But as far as all my memories with him, even the bad ones, even the ones where he would scream for hours, or he would spit the food back to you, or he would break things because, unfortunately, when he had the tantrums, that's what he would do.
Okay.
I don't think that I would change them. I think that all those memories make me who I am now. You know, and to tell you the truth, it made me a better man.
Well,
honestly,
I would agree with you that it makes you a better person. Yes, but I would not say I would not change.
No.
Okay.
No, I understand. From I'm saying all the memories that I had with him when he was little, when he was a child, until a certain point. Obviously, nobody wants a person that, you know, a disabled human being. But if God gives you that, you know, they say that everybody has a cross, and God unfortunately gives His biggest soldier the heaviest cross. We just have to find the way to help them as much as we can, like we're doing right now, because this is what it's all about.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think for me, the one thing that has taught me is patience.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, that's the biggest. That word will never. I'll say that word to the day I'm going. Is patience. I mean, and you know, I have 2 boys who are autistic, so that's like a double whammy. And but patience. And
you do learn patience. Absolutely. You do learn great patience. I mean, you cannot do this. You cannot care for a person with this disability and not have patience.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
You've been saying, why are we here? you know, we're here to grow.
Yeah.
And teach our kids to grow. You guys are the epitome of that. You're all growing and your kids are growing too, and you're just doing what else is one of the things in life. We're here for.
Absolutely.
And Nelson is your first child.
The first one, yes.
And then you had 2 more kids.
That's a boy and a girl.
And they're typical, they're,
Yeah.
thank God, everything's a function.
Yes.
So it's amazing, you know, just to know that, like, I don't know, for example, and I want to be truthful. So if I had Robbie, the firstborn,
Mm-hmm.
and I experienced autism, I don't know how I would react to have another child.
But see, that's
It
what I
would be
think we got to
difficult.
talk about too, though,
Right, it would be difficult for me.
because my older 2 kids, different mom, not autistic. My twin boys, different mom, autistic. Now, I think you said that was Robbie born here?
Robbie was born here, yeah. My other 2 kids were born in Europe.
So they're older than Robbie.
Yes, they're older, yes.
No autism.
No autism whatsoever. 0 autism. So that, you know, I'm saying, like, there's a lot of parents. I for example, I know a parent that has 2 little girls and 1 little boy. They're all autistic.
You know, let me correct myself. So Miles, my second son, right? He shows sign of, like, he has a learning disability where he doesn't learn like a typical person, right? And they label him, they put him under the spectrum, but I don't think, I mean, hey, I'm not a professional, this is not my, you know, but me dealing with Nelson, I don't think he's autistic. I know they gotta put a label on something, like if they gotta give a child like
course.
therapy or
Yeah.
something, they gotta
Yeah.
they have to label him something, you know, so that he can get the therapy, whatever. But he's come a long way. He works with me full time, so just in him working with me, he's, you know, he's stretching his brain because I'm a land surveyor, right? And we do all kinds of surveys. I do all kinds of surveys. I do surveys for boundary issues. I do construction surveys where I show the contractors where to put the building level foundations for new buildings and whatnot. And Miles is working with me, and he's grasping all of this. You know, I'm also teaching him how to make the drawings, you know, draw the plans in AutoCAD, and he's doing it. You know, so I just think that he has a different way of learning. It takes a lot of patience, and it takes him longer to learn things. And I have the patience. You know, he's my son, so of course I have to have patience to teach him. But I'm noticing that he's doing far better than even when he was in the school system, because, you know, I'm teaching him, and I got all the patience in the world. And he's going back to college. I tell him every day, I said, you go to college, you're going to get a degree. He's been out of high school for now 2 years. Yeah, 2 years since he graduated. And I'm always pounding it in his head, you're going back to college. You're going back to college. You're going to get your degree. So, you know, that's for another day.
You know, but schools have to label people.
Yeah.
So my firstborn, they wanted to label him what is that, ADD?
ADHD.
Yeah, ADHD.
But you know why? Because he would answer all the questions. So they called me in. Yeah, they called me in, and I had the principal and the teacher, and they were talking to me, and they said, you know, Danny's a great student. Don't worry about it. He hasn't done nothing. And he was like maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade. I mean, he wasn't a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And but he has to learn to give everybody else the time to answer. And I said, wait a minute, what is he doing wrong? Oh, when I ask a question, you know, he raises his hands. I said, well, wait a minute. He raises his hands disrespectfully, or he doesn't know the answer. No, I know he knows the answer, but he should wait for somebody else to. I said, okay, but okay. So I said, wait a minute. Is he doing it so that he wants attention, so that I know, you know, to help him out? No. He does it because he knows the answer. I think you should take him somewhere, and you know, there is certain things that you can take to calm him down. I said, okay, I'll take him to the doctor.
Let me ask you a question. So he raised his hand and shouted the answer?
No. He would raise it.
So just raising his hand?
He's raising it because he didn't answer. And they said, no, but he can take something. And I said to the teacher,
Wow.
I said, I will take him to the doctor, and I will get the medicine, and I will bring it here at the table, and me and you take it. If you think it's okay for you, then I'll give it to my son. But if you think it's not okay for you, she says to me, no, that's not how it works. Okay, then, you know what? You be the teacher, I'll be the parent. Okay? So if he's disrespectful, yes, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not disrespectful, you know, there's boundaries everywhere. So you keep your boundary, I keep mine. So they have to label. It's the labeling. The incredible part is the more parents you meet like this, something almost
Feels
comes
good.
out of you. You know, you feel so much relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much at peace with yourself. You know that.
And it just brings back memories that you may have thought you've forgotten, but they just come to the forefront.
My son almost set the house on fire once.
Wow.
Oh yeah, because he knocked down. He had a lamp, and first he knocked it down, then he dismantled it, and then he had just a bulb, and I had a carpet. So I guess he fell asleep, and the bulb went on the carpet, right? And because he would never sleep, I would be like, you know what? Let me go check. And I went in the room, and I said, oh my God, did he have an accident? You know, and instead it was the carpet that was catching fire.
Oh,
How old was he? Like 7, 8? We had no fear of being hurt or creating some
I'm glad I never
problem.
experienced that.
Me neither.
Oh my
Thank
God.
goodness, boy.
God. See,
Because those bugs control your head.
one thing that I was blessed with, he never eloped.
I also eloped twice. I didn't mention that.
He eloped?
Yeah, twice.
What's that?
He eloped twice.
Eloped?
Eloped. Walked out of the house.
With a girl?
No, I wish, right? That would have been.
I thought you said
elope is to walk. Like,
I was gonna ask that bad.
elope is to walk away.
Yeah,
Leave the house.
Oh.
That shit is
Ah,
scary.
that's scary.
Just like I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the patience that God has blessed me with. And I've always felt deep in my heart that something's gonna come up. You know, like there's so many brilliant people all around the world. And I just feel within my heart that one day something is gonna emerge. Medicine, something, some kind of therapy for our children. You know, give them hope, give them the life that they deserve, give them the life that we envision them having. You know, and we're gonna stay in as parents with autistic children. We're gonna stay in the fight. We continue loving them, supporting them, doing everything we can for them. You know, preparing for their futures, whatever we can. You know, we're not gonna give up hope. We're not going to just sit on our hands and not do anything. We're gonna stay vigilant. We're gonna keep looking, doing our research, our own research. You know, researching what other countries are doing. You know, because thank God for the internet. You know, because other countries are doing things. I'm not gonna mention it today, but other countries are doing things. You know, exploring therapies that can help. You know, so we just have to be vigilant, and we just have to stay at it, stay in the fight. We love our children, right? So
Absolutely. I mean, I would say the words I would use is belief, patience, and hope. Those three words mean a lot to me. And like you said, which is true, they're finding, you know, different things out here that's gonna, you know, help our children. Whatever to become quote unquote normal, whatever normal is.
Mhm.
But you just gotta, you know, as men, as fathers, we just gotta be strong and be there for our children. Keep vigilant, always have an impact, and patience, have a lot of patience.
Yeah, and the awareness, you know, it's very important. The awareness is very important, you know, what everyone, including even people that don't have autistic kids, you know, they're just spreading the word to move forward, even for our kids, right? Is to spread this. We ought to talk about it as much as we can.
Yes.
Because, you know, we're not alone.
I agree.
We're not alone, and I think that in the future, you know, either find something to reverse it, or if they find something to make them better. For the moment now, it is beautiful to see. Like I said before, people that I run across, people from all parts of the world, and you know, I'm with my son, and if he does something, they go, no, don't worry about it. It's okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine, I understand.
Right.
I have a nephew that has autism.
Wow.
Or I heard about autism.
Right.
So I think that what we're doing right now, in our small universe, will help.
Bring more awareness.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Thanks again, guys. It's, you know, it's always I'm grateful to sit here and listen to your experiences, and that we'll be able to enlighten people on some of the success we've had dealing with autism in the future. Thanks again. Until we sit down again and talk. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good. Good talk. Definitely good talk.